Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Yesterday evening, I had a really interesting and fun game against an opponent playing the King's Gambit. The King's Gambit is a very aggressive but not entirely sound opening for white. I don't usually play it as I'm a fan of the Vienna game, but I'm always excited when an opponent uses it when I have the black pieces. What I often encounter are unusual positions, early aggressive attacks and counterattacks, and games that aren't very long. This was the case for this game, which ended by checkmate on move 24. Please enjoy! Alright, so let's start with the review. So chess.com's algorithm, I suppose neither of us played super accurately, and lots of sort of inaccuracies and potential mistakes, and such is the nature of the King's Gambit. And you can see that in this game it was sharp, back and forth. So started off well, I had a bit of an advantage, losing the advantage, the opponent had an advantage, and then in the end I managed to win. Now let's have a look at this game. And this sort of pattern makes for a very, very exciting game, I think. Okay, so I had the black pieces, opponent played e4, e5, and King's Gambit f4. So immediately striking at the center, inviting the trade, and potentially opponent taking control of the center with a damage to their structure because, very carelessly, that comes with check, doesn't it? So I always accept the King's Gambit. It almost seems unfair. Like if someone plays a King's Gambit and you don't accept it, it's like not having fun. So I always accept the King's Gambit. Opponent plays knight f3, and I play knight c6. And apparently this is the McLeod defense. Opponent now plays bishop c4, and some advantage to me, but launching a potential sort of attack here. Now I develop knight ge7. And that wasn't the best move. So Stockfish recommends straight up playing the pawn move g5, so immediately trying to hold onto that extra pawn. And the logic here is opponent can't take because you could capture their knight in that case. However, by playing the knight move, it actually disallows that move, and the opponent can now move their knight onto g5. And that's what they do. But you will notice that even though it's lining up, clearly for a dangerous attack here, it's actually not good for white. So this is a real gamble type move. Here I immediately played a d5, so willing to sort of potentially give back the pawn, and thinking that I might be able to block that attack there. They capture back, and they captured anyway, which was really interesting. So again, I was reasonably comfortable that I should be able to take, and the queen would go here. I knew that was coming, and I thought that I could probably just move my king back to e8, though clearly a scary move. I thought about playing queen to h4 with check, and they would come forward, captures, but I was just concerned what would happen, that I would sort of just run out of puff with that attack. However, that actually is potentially the best move. So what that might look like: queen to h4, pawn forward, captures, and of course now this is a real problem because the next move, if you don't do something about this, the pawn moves forward, which comes with check and a potential promotion. The things are looking really, really problematic, for white here. So they might firstly give a check, but then you could sort of potentially block that, and yeah, it's basically just not good. There are no real good moves here. You can sort of see potentially what you might do. Captures, queen then captures is actually apparently the best move, like -9.5, -10, -10. So this is actually a absolutely devastating counterattack by black, and basically also why this attack in the King's Gambit actually isn't very good. So I'll know that for next time. However, in this game, I didn't see that counterattack. I was bit worried about what was going to happen. So I captured back with king, and we're actually almost back to equality here. We're almost back to equality. Opponent plays the queen move here. So just straight up blocking was fine. I thought, is there a way I could sort of protect, obviously the problem is there's 2 attackers on that knight. So I'm just wondering, is there a way I could defend that? Wasn't sure. So they capture now the knight here. Pawn to G6. So here the opponent has a bit of an advantage. So their attack worked. Basically, their attack worked. They now sort of give a sort of another check. Here I sort of move my king out of the way, asking for a trade. They do another check. However, I can capture that bishop now, and look, basically equal. And are we going to trade queens? No, they decide to just capture that pawn. So what are we left with here? So I've got pawns in funny positions. They have developed no pawns, no other pieces other than a king. Critically damaged defense. I've got some potentially critically damaged defense here as well. But the lines are completely open for my bishops and potentially sort of my queen as well. So I have some potential advantages here in this position. So firstly, I thought, look, I'm going to develop. So bishop d6. I did see that move, basically with an attack there. But again, I just wasn't too sure whether that was something that I really wanted to do straight away. They play queen c4, which possibly wasn't the best move. And you can see, so back to equality now. Back to equality. Here I thought, let's give a check. Now forcing the king out of the way, so still equality, but it means that that they can no longer castle. So I can't castle, but they can't castle either. With the queen, sort of attacking that pawn, move the king. So the king cannot castle anyway. So let's move the king into this little sort of cocoon. So I thought that was potentially reasonably safe. I do see, there are some potential sort of issues here. There are some potential issues here, but I thought I should be able to defend. They play rook e1, which is what I kind of expected. Here I decided to play queen f6, and part of that is I wanted to disallow that move. I thought that was potentially okay. We'll just end up with a queen. We'll just end up with a queen trade because I could always block back with queen. But here, basically, I just didn't want that to happen at all. So I suppose I played more conservatively. That was apparently a mistake. Again, almost plus 2.5 for white again. They develop their knight, so that makes sense. I sort of asked, do you want to trade rooks? And yeah, I had a hunch that they wouldn't. And by not trading rooks, I thought this gave me a potential advantage. Now, at some point, I saw that if this pawn was up, then I had a potential attack now on the queen and rooks. I saw that, so I wanted to play a5 at some point. Here I played queen e5. Obviously I had to take it out of that file, so apparently that wasn't the best move, but that's all right. I thought, queen and bishop on the same diagonal is potentially good. Apparently that was terrible. But the opponent blundered straight back, with aggressive pawn push, now minus from plus 2 to sort of minus 2.4. So that's looking pretty good for me. And one of the things I did see here now is I now have this potential sort of attack, and there's definitely a weak square on the e2 square, and that comes with check as well. So very nice. So check, knight is here, so knight is now pinned, which is what I like. So I don't mind it being pinned. Here I decide to play that a5 move, thinking the next move I'll have this potential very, very powerful move against the queen. Now, Stockfish reckons that I could have taken straight up. And again, I didn't see this in the game, but this is the reason why. So this was a very powerful move. So capture, let's say queen captures, queen captures back. But now I've got the move queen captures, king captures, and now bishop skewering the queen and the rook. And the queen here, sorry, the king now has to move. I could just straight up capture and basically trade a bishop for a rook, depending on where the king goes. I might even be able to bring my my rook out to one of these. Oops, one of these two files. I might not even potentially lose a piece if the opponent makes the wrong move. So a very, very powerful attack here. So I didn't see that sequence of moves, but it was more powerful than I thought. So in this move, rather than capturing straight, I thought, look, it'd be better if I had the bishop. So I moved the pawn to a5. Opponent now captures. That's fine. I move the rook up. They capture, I capture back with the bishop. Again, need to protect. Opponent now makes a move, so they develop their bishop, but that was a mistake because that move doesn't actually provide any threats to me, and now I've got that move. And they have to do something because they're under attack. So I expected that they would try to protect their queen, so they'll move their queen out of the way. But as soon as they move the queen out of the way, the knight is no longer defended, and there is a potential checkmate line there. So the only good move, I think, is for them to capture, to trade queen for bishop, and trading queen for bishop is obviously very, very good for me as well, which is why it's almost -9. Opponent makes the wrong move. They move the queen out of the way rather than maintaining defense or getting rid of one of my attackers. And so now queen captures knight with check, forced move, and now checkmate. So good game, GG. One of the interesting things about the King's Gambit in this game is that the speed of the attack was such that neither my opponent and I had time to follow usual opening principles, controlling the center by developing pawns, developing pieces, and castling. As could be seen in the computer evaluation, White's scary-looking attack was very tricky but wasn't sound, as I had an opportunity to launch a devastating counterattack. However, at the beginner intermediate level, the opponent will have to see that counterattack, and it's a gamble. For instance, although I considered that move, I didn't calculate deeply and long enough and assumed that it just wouldn't work. So what happened in this game? I managed to fend off the opponent's first opening salvo, and once the attack ran out of puff, we were both left with damaged king defenses and almost no development. Into the middle game, I managed to develop my pieces slightly faster, accelerated with a couple of well-timed checks. This allowed me to return fire successfully for the win. I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.